Hi, this is Jason from Horrific Nightmares, and it's time for a controversial view. Now, today we're going to be talking about an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and it's going to be The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Now, my history with Alfred Hitchcock Presents, I've always loved the show. However, I have never seen this episode. Now, I will get to the controversy a little bit later, but this was one that was banned for TV for a very long time because of the content. And it actually did end up showing up as the very last episode for season 7. Now, why season 7? Well, season 7 wasn't produced here. Um, you'd have to buy an overseas copy of season 7 because they just weren't, they only released the first 6 seasons in America. So what is going on with The Sorcerer's Apprentice? Is it really as bad as they say? We're going to talk about the controversy here. All right. Um, this was a first time watch for me, and I believe it was a first time watch for Joe. I believe. I could be wrong about that. But I'm watching it. Of course, it's in black and white because if you've ever seen Alfred Hitchcock Presents, you'll know that it ran in the 50s. And I think the show was groundbreaking, and Hitchcock was a genius. Now, of course, this was written by Robert Bloch, the same man who wrote Psycho. And this episode is brilliant. It starts out innocently enough, and I'm going to give you guys a background. Like I said, other than season 7, there's really no other way to get it in the United States on a Alfred Hitchcock Presents season pack. However, my what do you call it? Laser light um, DVD set has this as a double feature with Rich and Strange, which was one of Alfred Hitchcock's, I believe it's one of his older movies, 1932, right? And in some of the other Alfred Hitchcock uh, budget packs, it was on a lot of those as well. But why did it never make the seasons? Like I said, because it was banned on television, it was put as the very last episode of season 7, which was not available in the States. So, what's so terrible about it? This is actually a great episode. It deals with a magician and his um, helper, who is a beautiful blonde. Now, in this traveling carnival, they find a man laying on the ground named Hugo, who is not dead. They weren't sure if he was dead or alive. So the great Sandini, I believe is what his name is, brings him into his trailer and helps him, makes him some warm milk and so on and so forth. So, of course, the great Sandini and his helper or his apprentice um, are in the trailer looking after the kid. When he does wake up, he sees the beautiful blonde and thinks she's an angel. Then he sees the great Zantini, who has a typical magician sort of look for that time period, and he thinks he looks like the devil. So the great Zantini decides to keep Hugo around because he's harmless enough, and he makes him more or less his new apprentice. Now, he still works with the woman, but Hugo is basically learning the tricks of the trade. And he's very innocent minded, maybe a little simple minded, because he watches the great Santini do magic, and he's thinking that the magician is really hurting his assistant by sawing her in half. Well, his assistant starts getting close to Hugo, and since he's kind of taking a liking to her, she kind of manipulates him in order to do her dirty work. And I am going to leave the story there. So the entire time I'm watching this, I'm like, wait a minute, what is so bad about this? And then it gets to the end, and towards the end, and I would say the last 5 or 6 minutes of the show, and this is a 25-minute show, which was a half an hour in syndication. Um, you see how brutal and how inappropriate this might have been for TV at that time. Now, the story of this episode, when the advertisers saw this episode, they all threatened to pull out if they aired it. So this episode was never aired until the show went into syndication many years later, which I thought was very interesting because I was not expecting to see what I saw in this episode of Alfred Hitchcock, and it does get pretty intense towards the end. So definitely, if there is a way you can check this out, if you have this on a multi-pack or an Alfred Hitchcock pack, or like I do with this laser light box set, definitely check it out. It might surprise you. It definitely surprised me, and I think it surprised Joe as well. So definitely check out Joe's controversial view for Alfred Hitchcock Presents The Sorcerer's Apprentice. And remember, guys, physical media matters. And this is why physical media matters. And until next time, peace.